Nancy White.
My name is Nancy White. I'm also from Amherst, New Hampshire, and I've lived here most of my life. We must look at what has occurred to our presidency with the fathers who lead our country now, Bush and Cheney. What have they contributed to further our honest, open democracy that our founding fathers handed to us based on the rule of law and our Constitution? Our country is in dire straits, and it's sinking deeper into the denial of lies, corruption, high crimes, and treason committed in our name. Shredding our rights and the Constitution has been thoroughly documented by prominent politicians, lawyers, writers, artists, military personnel across political spectrums. The famous theologian Martin Niemöller, whom my father admired, gave us the classic description of how fascism, the corporate political dominance, comes into the world on little cat feet and remains to devour everything in its path. We are experiencing this now. Speaking of the ascension of the Nazis, Niemöller says that in Germany, they first came for the communists and he did not speak up because he was not a communist. And then they went for the Jews and he did not speak up because he was not a Jew. And for the trade unions, the same. And for the Catholics, the same. By the time they came for him, there was no one left to speak up. Well, I'm speaking up today. And so this room full of people, either by their presence or their words, as you listen to our pleas that our country is in crisis. A crisis that can't wait any longer because it threatens our very separation of powers and our democracy. And like you, I cannot continue this spiral of silence, which enshrouds our very freedoms and pursuit of happiness. This is a very unhealthy state of being for humans, for beasts, for countries enmeshed with a climate of fear created to make us cringe, affecting our very health and joy of living, and being ashamed that our country has become what it has become in our name. We have numerous vets coming back from these wars of occupation who have post-traumatic stress syndrome and are not properly cared for nor nurtured in openness to admit our wrongs. In Dennis Liu's book, Impeach the President, he cites the phenomenon that psychologist Noel Newman calls the spiral of silence, which you all have a copy of. This occurs when people silence their true feelings because they believe that their opinion is in the distinct minority. They're outnumbered, and so there's no hope that their opinion will carry the day. Well, they may actually be in the majority, but if they think that they're outnumbered, they will censor themselves. Most people don't even know all the lies and the deceit and the crimes which our corporate media have been necklaced because they haven't recorded them. They're necklaced because of their own corporate interests or their fear for their own jobs. We search then for unbiased media sources from distant countries for a true picture of what's happening in this country. What's wrong with this picture, folks? Are we even able to get at the truth? Just the facts, ma'am? How impoverished our public arena has become as Bush and Cheney have continued their obstructions and lies. However, when the people have felt outnumbered and disempowered, but they become armed with the truth and with information, they feel unburdened, and they may feel quite a bit of emotion, being mad or passionate, like I am, or anxious, and they want to do something that can change things. And what really happens is when they have that, they make a difference, such as the women making a difference of the group that I belong. When the facts and the truth are obtained. Congressional members, folks, in our U.S. Congress are threatened and then bribed if they speak of the impeachment proceedings, fear of losing their committee chairmanships, and they experience smear campaigns against their re-elections and fears on their very livelihoods. What kind of country is it that sinks and slinks to this kind of behavior? We begin to see the characters quite that resemble those in the Lord of the Rings, such as Gollum, and a wasted creature guarding his corruptible precious. Is that what we want in our presidency and vice presidency? I say no. Enough. Representative Betty Hall's H.R. 24, calling for the impeachment of Bush and Cheney, is before you. This is our closest connection. We, you and me, together as citizens, have, for we represent the people. And we have you as a body who can hopefully reflect our sentiments. You are charged with beginning that process today, now, without regard to whether we have to prove things or not. And as many people have spoken today in the U.S. House Judiciary, at this moment, H. Resolution 799 is up and working, and many Senate representatives are pleading for people to actually sign on to WexlerWantsHearings.com. This effort is only a few weeks old, and yet we already have 250,000 signatures. When people find out the true information that has been neglected to be given to them by our free press, then they see what we are up against. It's only through the efforts of ordinary citizens like me and those in this room that this information has even been transmitted to the body politic of America. I urge you to support these efforts. The remedy is an investigative process, which is called impeachment. And this is just the beginning of asking the question that our fathers have whispered in our ears many years ago. Do you remember that in your civics classes?